Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's your girl, Coach Beth. I'm on here today, loving every minute of this. I just started this YouTube channel just like last week and just very excited to share with you all what's going on. If you're not aware of the platform, how this is going to go, I'm really wanting people to be great leaders. For me personally, I've worked in, if you followed the initial episode, if you haven't, go back and watch. But if you follow me at all on social media, from TikTok to Facebook, LinkedIn, I'm always trying to empower others to be their best self. And I've had so many different areas that I've served in, whether it be from working in law enforcement, local government, state government, and doing a lot of different things in the community. I ran for county commissioner one time. I have a servant's heart, but I love seeing people win. And what bothers me the most is when I see individuals that are not serving at their greatest capacity. So my goal with this platform is to connect the dots. Whether you're viewing me on Facebook, this will be the platform that will allow you to see, like, when I'm a words girl. So like today's word was capacity. So we'll be talking about that. So I'll place that on my Facebook page. And then here I'm going to go dig deeper into it, and also on LinkedIn, and just wanting you to be great. So what I have found, a lot of times individuals shy away from being leaders. It can be scary. It's like, oh, you want me to lead? Have you ever been in a room and somebody wants to volunteer, and you see that person that's just like, oh my God, I'll go. I'll take the lead. I have all these ideas. But then maybe you're that person that's just like, I'm not even here. Don't look at me. I don't want to be a part of it. And that's okay. I want you to know that does not make you less of a leader. That just makes you aware of where you are at this point, but you may want to build your confidence to be able to lead. So today's word, capacity. Where are you at now? Capacity. What does that even mean? Well, we know from a physical standpoint, capacity means, if you had a container and you were to fill it with a lot of different items or liquids or whatever, that means like you can't go past the top, like it's going to spill over, right? It's not enough room. It's coming out. So when it comes to either leadership, relationship, you can apply this to any area of your life. When you're at capacity, your max capacity, there is no more room, but sometimes you do try to add more to yourself. So when you have reached your capacity, you need to pause. And I always say that pause, like stop, and let's look and see what you can do different, right? So when you think about where you want to go, I saw someone share on their Facebook page today, actually, they had posted that they were thinking of a new career. And I was like, oh yeah, I hearted their picture. I was like, oh yeah, they realize this is something they want to do. Well, before you dive into something, you really have to be very self-aware of, like, what does this look like for me? If you're a mom, dad, anyone, even though it's called Girl Just Quit, anyone can listen and gain and glean from this. So if you are a parent, you might not be able to do certain careers, but that does not mean you can't be a leader. So you have to be self-aware of where you are in that season. I know for me particularly, I am a caregiver. I'm a mom, a co-parent, but I have my children the majority of the time. So with that, there are certain roles that I cannot fulfill. Does that make me less of a leader? No, it just means that I'm aware of what I can handle. I'm aware that I have to have some balance, okay? So, I like to relate this is just how I live my life. In the scripture, Luke 14:28-30, it talks about how we have to add up the cost. Add up the cost. Like, what does this look like? A lot of times people, they don't really realize, like, say you're looking for a job and you're like, oh my gosh, this is great. I've got the job, but did you take into account what that looks like for your situation? Does it look like, how does that look? How are my children being transported? How does this impact others around me? How does it impact my children? How does it impact my family? How long will I be here? You don't always look at those situations. And with that, you can set yourself up for failure. So maybe you are a great leader. Maybe this is a great opportunity financially, but how does this look, the capacity of this? How does this look for the overall picture? Because you have to look past the paycheck. I mean, for me, it doesn't matter if you're making six figures or one figure. If you are overtaxed, you're not going to be able to perform at your greatest ability. And that can make you feel like, well, maybe I'm not the leader that I'm supposed to be. When the reality is you have taken on a role that in this season of your life, it's just not going to work. But guess what? That's okay. So if you're already in it, you have to try to navigate, maybe take some things away, figure out what works best for you. But if you're not, I love to coach individuals who are trying to build their career before they even get into it, especially, young adults when they're just starting to like navigate and they're trying to figure it all out. That's the perfect time, but any time works. So you have to look at where you are. A lot of times people, they look at, even let's just use church for example. You have someone serving in the church and this is something that they've always, I've always served in this role in the church. I've always attended this church. So it's just like, this is what you're doing. This is a routine for you. This is what you're familiar with. But does that mean that it fits for this season of your life? Maybe not. So I want people to learn, which I had to learn personally. It is okay to say no. This is not working for me in this season. I am at my capacity. And I think a lot of times what happens is, as individuals, especially if you're a leader, you're a servant, you love helping others, you find yourself in a position to where you're like, I don't want to seem like I can't handle this. Like, this is too much. And you don't want to be, sometimes it's like, I don't want to look like I'm like a lazy person. I'm supposed to be able to do all this. When the reality is, when you lay down at night, how do you feel? How do you feel? We're talking about careers. Let's roll this over to even relationships. What does this look like? Say you're a mom, you've never had any children, and now, so you had all this extra time to spend with your spouse, right? Capacity. Now you have a child, or you have two children, three, how many ever you have, you're not going to be able to serve and give at that same capacity because you're one person. Same thing with dads. You're not able to serve. And people, again, self-awareness, realizing what your capacity is, instead of just continuing to just work in it and just hope that it works out, right? We're not doing that in this season. We're going to like really dig into like, who am I as a person? Where am I at? I'm not 20 years old anymore. I'm not 30 years old. I'm 40. Whatever your age is, look at where you are. Do not feel bad about telling someone this isn't working for me. Back to careers. If you have a demanding role, maybe you had some health concerns, or maybe someone in your family has become ill and you're trying to provide, take care of them or help them, and you've always had this particular role, you might have to shift. Does it make you a bad employee? Absolutely not. It actually, again, makes you self-aware, and I think that is even more of a leader to take a step back and say, hey, this isn't working for me right now. What some people will do is continue in it. And then you're just like, you're setting yourself up, you're letting people down. It makes it look like you're out of control. Your wheels are spinning, you just have no control over your life. And again, you've met or maxed out your capacity. Hey, so I'm here to tell you and coach you to tell it, true leadership is being aware of where you are currently. True leadership means that you are not going to continue working in something, whether it be a relationship, a friendship, a career, whatever it might be, if it's not serving you and your family, you and your situation. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And, some may argue, hey, you just push through. This is how life is. This is the American dream. This is how it goes. But I would argue differently, and with valid points, that for me personally, I think the best, what you do individually, you only live once. What you do as an individual, you can't compare it to others, right? My situation does not look like the next household. And that's okay. That's what makes us different, right? Having differences. So just because someone else pushed through and they made it happen, that does not mean that that's what is best for you. So never feel like, I'm just like, I am a quitter, like I should have continued, I should have worked things out. Yes, I am a go-getter. Let me just tell you, I will run with the best of them. I feel like I want to give more because I never want it to seem like I'm not putting my best foot forward. But in this season of my life, Coach Beth's life, I'm not concerned with what others think. I know who I am. I know that I'm a hard worker. I know the effort that I put into anything that I'm passionate about. So for me, if I say, hey, that's not going to work for me, where before I would just do whatever, whether it be career, family, friends. I never wanted to say no. You've probably heard me say that before. But in order to be a great leader is aware of what lies ahead. As I said in Luke 14:28 and 30, I know how to add up the cost. Like, I don't have to get in a airplane and know how I'm going to feel if I'm going to like go skydiving. Like, I thought about it before going skydiving, and then I thought about like what it really would feel like. So maybe, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, maybe I might change my mind. But in this season, I'm not really trying to jump out of a plane. And I don't have to get up there to think about that. Like, I'm aware. So I want you to begin to think about things like that. Like, what does this look like for me realistically? And I think a lot of times we as individuals, we get so caught up in, you're trying to reach certain goals. Okay. And that's great. I'm all about being goal oriented. We're trying to pack so much in for our children to do because, it looks better. Like, my kids do 10 different things. What do your kids do? Mine, they're doing XYZ, but then we're losing time and true presence with our children because we have these packed schedules. When you're in college and you are preparing, or just when you graduate high school, whatever your situation is, when you become an adult and you decide, I want to be in a certain position, whatever your calling is at that time, at 18 to 25, that's who you were then. Maybe you didn't have children. Maybe you didn't have a spouse. So you step into this season and you're like, I think I want to change my career. And everybody may be like, why would you do that? Because the person that you were at 18 to 25 is no longer exist. You've possibly had children. You've had, your family has grown, or had some maybe family health issues, or maybe you just had a different desire to do something else, a different calling, and that's okay. But the problem lies when you continue in something that is no longer a part of you. Like, you're physically there, but mentally and physically you're not. So I know what you're thinking. Well, sounds good, Coach Beth, but I have to pay my bills. I have, responsibilities, and we all do or should. But with that, I want to ask you a question. Do you just continue in it? Because, I was at church at Long Hollow on Sunday, and one of the things that I just love that the pastor said this because it's so me, and I'm always like coaching on this and trying to get people to really see this, that he had a rope, but I'll use this for example. Like, say for example, see the tip of this pen. When people are trying to get to retirement, they're thinking about like, this, we'll say right here, we'll go to this point. And this over here is your eternity, right? This is eternity. This little piece here is what you're working towards. This, like from here to here, this is what you're working for retirement to get to this little bitty piece right here, okay? You're trying to do all this work. You're working all this time. You're spending time away from your family. You're doing all the things because that's what we do. That's what the American dream is. That's what we know we have to do. We know we have to work. But let's think about this. In order to get this little bit of time, let's say you retire 60, 65, 70, 75, whatever it's going to take you to get to retirement. But by the time you're here, like at this little bitty point here, your health may not be the same. Your children are already adults. You may have grandchildren by that point. and you've worked your entire life doing something that you really didn't enjoy in the first place, right? You did it because you had to, and you felt that way. But you also did it because you were in constant, just in that routine where you never stopped to say, you know what, I may have to make some changes financially, but it may not be, I'm thinking about, the retirement. I've got to get, I want to have at least $1 million in my account saved. So I have to continue working because I want to make sure my family's provided for. But at the same time, you're not present. So I want to start to shift your mind for you to think about, like, are you really just, as the pastor said, are you really just looking at this? You're trying to work to get to this little bitty piece of time that you may not even be in great health. I go sometimes to Walmart or just out to a store, and I see these people like at the pharmacy, and they have spent years working to get to this end of their life, only to be just going to the doctor, only just to be living to almost die, and you didn't get to enjoy. Yeah, you get vacation times during your work, and I'm not saying you quit your job, because I know it's called Girl Just Quit, but what I'm saying is quit doing what doesn't work. Quit doing what doesn't work, and find something that you enjoy, so that you cannot, when you're off work, you can come home and be present and not be stressed. So what that looks like for you, I don't know. You can come and allow me to coach you, and we can make a plan. But I do want you to hear this out, that make sure that whatever you are doing, that you are not going over the capacity that you can hold. If it's running over, you're done for. That's what my son says. You're done for. You're done for. So please take this time, listen to this video, apply, and look at the scriptures there, where again, Luke 14:28-30, huge on adding up the costs. And it's just very like mind-boggling that we don't actually take time to think about, like, oh my God, like, how can I move better? For me personally, I know I apply these. I can't go back, but I actually apply these for my children. I'm like, I don't want them to like work somewhere that they're not enjoying what they're doing or have passion about it. Every day is not, you're not going to enjoy your job every single day, but I'm saying I want them to have the opportunity to be present for their families, not to start off their life in debt, to truly be aware of what the next step for them looks like without having to actually get into it and then try to be like, oh my God, I just jumped out into this ocean and I do not know how to swim. But I'm out here, so I'm going to do what I have to do. No, we're not doing that, because that's just crazy, actually. What we're going to do is we're going to apply tools that set us up for success. And that will be on part 2, teaching you how to plan out your day so that you're not exceeding your capacity. So I want you to have a great day, and we'll be back on episode 2. Bye.